in the mail.
No, we're just going to talk about
starting
Nichols
in
all day.
April and
Nobody
over the
cares
next
about
year.
college basketball.
I've
I've got all
Garbage
kinds of
disposal
stats.
switches are being recalled over a
All kinds
fire
of
hazard.
stats.
The recall involves
Yeah,
incinerator,
like,
single outlet, sink top switches. The company has received 40 reports of water causing overheating damage to the
10 seconds.
and the outlet beneath the sink. So stop using
The
the
past
switch
12 years,
and contact
six
incinerator
times
for
we haven't
a
had
free
anybody in the
replacement.
tournament.
Consumer and Business News. Joe McConnell,
We hadn't won a
NBC
game
News
since
Radio.
LSU in 2009.
Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis.
Dunc and Holder on a Monday, March 12th. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdun here with you at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. Dave DeCorbier back at iHeart Central. And I'm guessing panic is starting to set in for some folks. People already calling the show before the show even starts, wondering when is Drew Brees going to get a contract signed. Panic!
It's starting.
Well, in about, let's see, 50 some odd minutes, the opening negotiations for free agency begins, and that will really be the time when people will be pressing that panic button, because another team can call up Drew Brees and talk to his agent and talk about a contract.
And stuff is already starting to happen. I think I read a report where Miami is going to part ways with Ndamukong Suh, so he will be on the market. How long do you think it's going to take, Larry, for Saints fans to reach out to us?
Someone has already tweeted me about it. Like, it's already happened. It's worth visiting. I would think if he hits the market, it's certainly worth visiting. There's no question.
We're gonna hear about that. Big name player like him. There's gonna be a lot of teams, I think, interested in him. And Miami seems to be cleaning house. They traded Jarvis Landry over the weekend, right, to Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland is really cleaning house, or just adding new pieces. Tyrod Taylor. Who else? They got rid of Danny Shelton. I think they made 5 trades in one day. Am I mistaken?
Is that
accurate?
Best NFL offseason we've ever had? Now that all these trades are going down.
Well, we'll see when the open negotiations start, because what if by some insane reason that Drew Brees does leave? I think that would make the offseason the most craziest one we've ever seen, especially here. But I still don't think it's going to happen, people. I think we can calm down. I think. Are you calm, Jeff? Are you calm, Clyde? Clyde just fired up that Nichols women. They're going to the big dance.
Is that the first time?
Yeah, dancing.
First time in history.
First time in history.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
They're carrying the banner for Louisiana college basketball along with Grambling State
and LSU.
Oh, and LSU.
Yeah, that's something. I mean, we're going to get to this later, but yeah, for all of our talk about, obviously, the men's teams and a lot of things they've been doing, we've woefully neglected the very quality women's teams that are also in the state of Louisiana, which include my Colonels, who, dear NCAA Women's Selection Committee, please send them to Starkville, Baylor, or Austin. Please don't send them to Louisville. I really don't want to make that drive, but I'm going to make that drive if I need to.
He's going.
Because I'm going.
He's going to be the Colonel, like the mascot.
Well, I did have the Colonel mascot at my wedding, but I will not wear it because I think it's hot. It's hot, big. The head is large enough as it is, so no, I'm going to do that. But obviously, LSU's women's had a great season. Grambling's women, because Grambling's men can't qualify for the SWAC tournament because of sanctions. I read that last night. But Grambling's women made it. They won the SWAC. LSU's women, and of course Nichols' women who had a fantastic, thrilling nail-biter of a game last night where they were down 17-5 in the first 2 minutes of the first quarter. So shout out to Doobie, shout out to the Colonels. Hopefully it's at a very drivable location because we're coming to your city.
If Nicholls State and Louisville pair up, we can have a little wager.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if that happens, then I'm going to go to your hometown, try not to wreck it too much with the rest of my Colonel faithful, and then come back here with some stories to tell.
Not sure we'll let
Some
you in.
stories to tell. I'm curious to see what
I've
the
been
stories are.
I've been to Louisville before. I went to Louisville.
You're going to lose your mind in Louisville?
Yeah, well, I mean, you really can't lose your mind in Louisville. I mean, it's an okay city. It's not,
Derby week you can. That's about the only
Derby
week.
you can. But I've been to Louisville before. I haven't been to the Yum Center, but I have walked around downtown, traipsed around downtown Louisville. 5th Street, right?
4th Street.
4th Street, that's it.
4th Street Live, yes.
Well, we're talking about women's teams making the NCAA tournament because 0 Louisiana men's teams made the NCAA tournament. ULL got upset. They go to the NIT. Neither Nichols nor Southeastern could finish the job in the Southland. So at least Southeastern is going to the NIT, and LSU has made the NIT. LSU will be facing ULL. I love how they keep trying to claim themselves as Louisiana and like trying to tell people how to pronounce their school. Like they have to be Louisiana. No, that's not the case, right? Did you unearth?
Yes, Act 14, which states by law in the University of Louisiana system, which we can get into this later too, because I actually read a huge expose in the Monroe News Star about what happened before the year started with the Sun Belt school designations and how that was a whole fiasco. But Act 14 of the state legislature says that neither school, no ULM or Louisiana Lafayette, can claim their university in many other ways as the University of Louisiana, because that is illegal. Act 14, go look it up.
Act 14.
I had a friend who was a University of Louisiana Lafayette associate who said you were factually incorrect on the show the other day, something about that.
Uh-oh.
Just telling you. You got called out.
Uh-oh.
Lies. All lies.
Yeah.
Let's hit the phone line. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Let's go all the way up to Illinois and talk with Brad. Hey, Brad, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got?
Guys, first of all, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Yeah, Brad.
I've been a long fan since 1990. We've been through the ups and the downs, gentlemen. And, I mean, at this point in time, do you hit the panic button on Drew Brees or what's going on? My anxiety's through the roof, guys.
I would say that you're probably not alone, considering free agency actually starts up here in about 48 minutes when other teams can call, legally, of course, the illegal tampering happens all the time, and that's why we get stories out of people going elsewhere. But other teams can officially start reaching out to Drew Brees and talking with him to a contract. I'm curious how many people will reach out to him if we get to that point, which I don't see any indication of that a deal's going to get done in the next 50 minutes.
No, I think
you don't.
This is the way.
I don't see. The deadline really for the Saints to get this deal done is March 14th, because if they don't get it done when the start of the signing period, that's when that $18 million of dead money would hit the Saints immediately to the cap. So that is why I've been preaching, Jeff's been preaching, deal will get done, we assume, and not to panic until then. So I'd give yourself 2 days before real major panic mode if I were you.
Well, my question is why do they wait till the last minute to pull this stuff off, guys? I mean, why do they wait till, what is today, the 12th? Why are we waiting until the 12th in order to be able to get this done? They've known this has been coming for a year. They know how well he performed in the playoffs. Why sit there and wait till the very last absolute 10th hour before we decide that we're going to put something on paper?
That's, for better or worse, the way Mickey Loomis has always operated on these big deals. He did the same thing last time they did it. And I understand your point. I've actually made that point in print before. I'm sure Larry has. It's just the way Mickey operates. He doesn't feel like there's any real leverage there from the other side, so he's going to wait till he gets the best deal. Now, if the best deal would have come along 2 or 3 days ago, he'd have cut it then, but he's going to wait until he thinks he's getting the best deal for the team.
Well, I'm wondering, and hey, Brad, appreciate the phone call and try to stay a little sane, but I'm wondering how much leverage the Saints really feel like they have, because there was certainly that drop-dead deadline. If it gets to 3 o'clock come Wednesday and there's no deal done, that $18 million of dead money hits the cap. I think Drew has the leverage at this point.
I totally agree, and I think Tom Condon knows that, and they've been down this road before, though, these two guys. We all know he wants to play for the Saints. The Saints know it. Everybody knows it. But I don't think anybody wants Drew Brees talking to another team. You just don't want to take that opportunity or take that chance of having him sit down opposite, say, John Elway, and John Elway make the Peyton Manning pitch to him. Who wants to take that chance?
I don't think the Saints want to take that chance either. So that's why I'm still expecting a deal to get done. I'm not going to try to panic mode, even though, say, our radio colleagues, Chris Gordy last week's already putting Drew Brees in a Vikings jersey and putting it out on Twitter and causing mass panic. And when I say it's panic and people think I don't realize that I'm just joking, but then people really take the bait and are like, oh, God, Drew Brees is going to be throwing the ball to Stefon Diggs next year.
Yes, and that's not going to happen. They're going to get this done. It just creates a lot of anxiety, but once it's over with in the next few days, and I'll be stunned if we're not at some press conference here in a few days with Drew Brees talking about a multi-year deal, and everybody's going to be happy and relieved, and the Saints can go about their business in free agency. I don't think they're going to do something today either out of respect to Zach Strief. This is Zach Strief's day, and I really believe they'll honor that. Even if they got a deal done, I don't think they would announce it. I think they'd wait.
Well, and you're anticipating a retirement announcement for Zach Strief coming up today.
Yeah, noon today. He's having a press conference, I believe, out at the Saints facility. I'm just speculating here, but the tea leaves reading it. Why else would he have a press conference? Why else would he be doing it a few days before the start of the league year? All these things kind of add up. I think we all know what direction this is going.
Well, we already knew that this was coming anyway when word got out in the combine, and we just assumed that they were going to be moving on simply because of how well Ryan Ramchek's played. And look, that is going to save the Saints some money, so they're going to have
David in Vegas.
They're going to have more money to go with at free agency. But look, you look at the parameters of this Drew Brees deal. I'm sure they know roundabout how much he's going to cost, but they need to figure that out before they can walk into free agency and figure out what's going on. Let's hit the phone lines. One more phone call, and we'll take a break right here on the show. Let's go to Las Vegas and talk with David. Hey, David, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got?
Larry, Jeff, how you guys doing, man?
We're good.
All good.
Well, hey, it's exciting time. Draft coming up, free agency. I tell you, personally, I'm not really concerned. I mean, I think this deal with Drew Brees is going to get done. Yeah, I think most fans probably just don't like the fact that it's, last minute. It seems like a last minute thing. But remember who his agent is. Tom Condon is not going to just, hand over the key and say, oh, yeah, let's just do this deal. I mean, he's got one of the best agents in sports. And, he's probably a hard bargain. So, that comes into play. I don't know if it's all on Mickey. I mean, depends on what story you want to believe, but I think that has something to do with it. So I'm confident it's going to get done. Would have liked to have seen it done sooner, yes, but this is kind of the deal, and unfortunately fans, they just got to be patient. That's just my opinion. Now, as far as these free agents out there, if this Sue becomes available, I think the Saints have to bring him in. I mean, this guy is a dominating defensive tackle. He can play end. I mean, do they need to, go out and break the bank for him? No. But I think if Sue's smart, he's going to want to go to a contender. He's gotten some big contracts. At this point of his career, I would think he would, be looking to go to a contender that's going to win. And that's what the Saints are. Saints should be right there in the thick of things in the NFC and potential Super Bowl next year. So I think, that's the pitch I would have at some of these guys. The money is great, but at the end of the day, these guys want to just continue to go to franchises where you're just not going to win. And I think the Dolphins was just a money grab. So hopefully they'll reach out to a couple of these guys, whether it's Sue or whoever. I know they had Mo Wilkerson in last week, but, he's got some question marks with that guy. So, again, if they get him for a one-year deal, prove-it deal or something like that, he's coming to a winning organization. I'd like to see that. There's some good a few good free agents I'd like them to go out and reach out to. So let's see what happens, guys. I'm confident things will work itself out. We'll chat with you later this week.
All right, David. Hey, appreciate the phone call. Why don't we take a break on this show, and we'll talk more free agency. Oh, by the way, the Pelicans now have a 2-game losing streak.
Still fourth.
Still fourth in the Western Conference, so I'm going to still sit in that shotgun seat on the bandwagon, but I'll be close to the door handle like I always am. Ready at any point to press a jar and go. But no, look, Pelicans lost yesterday to the Jazz, and even though Anthony Davis had a ridiculous triple-double with blocks, he was none too happy after the game. And look, you can't lose to teams that you're competing with in the playoff hunt. I mean, they lost big at home to Utah.
I'll be surprised if Utah doesn't make the playoffs. I mean, the way they're playing right now, what they something in 4 since Rudy Gobert came back, like 20-4 or 16-4. I mean, they are rolling right now.
And somehow they're still only in the 9th spot at 37-30 on the year.
Right.
Yeah, it's so competitive, but I'm sure we're going to see some dominoes fall at some point. So, all right, let's take a break right here on the show. We'll talk Saints free agency, Pelicans, the highs and lows of college basketball in state. We'll talk about that and your phone calls as well coming up next here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
I forgot we got this guy calling in at 10:30. Totally forgot about it.
Yeah,
The director of Maravich
Corey Johnson on
documentary
yeah.
airs tonight.
4 till 6.
Let's head to Metairie,
So,
a.k.a.
his name's
New Orleans
Fritz
West,
Mitchell.
home of traffic, lots and lots
Oh, yeah,
of
yeah,
traffic.
yeah.
Let's
I'll
go
send
to
you
the
all-
a lot of them.
lines,
I'll
a
send you all the
cellular
email
device
if y'all want to
caller.
read on it.
We're heading to New Orleans East, home of not one good restaurant.
Sports 1280. New Orleans.
Our 2018 iHeartRadio Music Awards. From the red carpet to the stage.
You guys having fun tonight?
Millions tuned in to watch and listen as the biggest stars in music performed live and found out who you picked as winners.
And the winner is.
Our 2018 iHeartRadio Music Awards for the love of music. Presented by eBay Fashion. See all the behind-the-scenes action and so much more at iHeartRadio.com/awards.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458. 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
America's favorite singing competition is 4-time Emmy winner The Voice. And with the addition of new coach Kelly Clarkson, the competition between coaches has never been this fierce.
I emailed both of y'all the release.
I want you on my team so bad.
You gotta pick me as your coach.
Yeah, no, the guy's calling us.
The Voice blind auditions with
Yeah,
Blake, Alicia, and Kelly Clarkson tonight on NBC.
And I want to thank my haters too because they be downloading my stuff so they can hear it and talk crap about it, but it benefits me.
Cardi B having the last laugh.
Who was that?
It's Cardi B.
Cardi B.
Night at the
I didn't know that
iHeartRadio
is.
Music
Oh,
Awards.
you're not hip to the...
You must be one of her haters.
Yeah, you must be one of their
Artist of
haters.
the
Are you
year.
not hip to the former stripper now turned iconic rapper, Cardi B?
Niall Horan won
I
for
think I
Best
know
New
who-
Pop
Cartier,
Artist. The
Barty,
Chainsmokers and Coldplay won for Best
something.
Collaboration, and
Bodak
Cutest
Yellow.
Musician's Pet Award went to Ariana Grande's
Cardi
dog,
B?
Toulouse.
Yes, Cardi
I'm
B.
Sue Guzman. Now over to Michael
looking at it
Bauer
right
with
now.
more entertainment news.
Saturday Night Live had a
Yes,
skit
I am
ripping on
familiar with her.
ABC's The Bachelor that featured special
I mean, I've
counsel
heard of
Robert
her, but I don't
Mueller,
know why
portrayed
she's
by
like
Kate McKinnon, making the
what
tough
she's ever
decision to
done.
pursue President Trump on obstruction charges rather than collusion with the Russian government.
I think I need to explore the possibility that I might have a stronger case with some other stuff.
Don't freeze.
I never freeze.
Black Panther continues to dominate the
All right, Dave, we're
films
gonna
in
have
the
to do a
U.S.
short
and
segment
Canada. The
here,
Disney
okay?
Marvel superhero picture
All right.
for $41
you get
million
that email I
worth of
forwarded
tickets
you,
this
Dave?
weekend.
I did.
Okay.
There's just
Yeah,
over
he's gonna
$1
call us.
billion. A distant second was
All right. That'll work.
Rangers Prey at Night is in third place this week. Red Sparrow in fourth, and Game Night in fifth. That's
I always thought her name was
entertainment. I'm
Dobie
Michael
Play
Bauer,
Songs.
NBC
No,
News
it's
Radio.
Doobie. No, shows you what I know.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280. New Orleans.
Short segment right here because in about 6 minutes we are going to be talking with Fritz Mitchell. He is the director of Maravich, ESPN Films' SEC storied series. It's premiering tonight at 8 p.m. Central on SEC Network. So we'll talk with Fritz Mitchell about his movie, Maravich. And I remember just as a kid how much even my dad idolized Pete Maravich.
Yeah, he was the first, I guess, well, next to Bob Pettit, first great basketball player in LSU history. And, look, I pointed this out in my column today about, the sad state of our state's basketball. You realize LSU has 3, when they announced the NBA's 50 greatest players back in the 90s, I think it was, 3 LSU players, Shaq, Bob Pettit, and Pete Maravich. That says a lot about the tradition that they've had at the program, but yet it seems to have fallen off a cliff in the last decade or so.
Well, there's no doubt about that. But we knew, at least this year, say LSU, it was going to be tough sledding. Now, they probably played better than we thought, and they're at least in the NIT, hosting a game in the NIT, and even Will Wade was begging and pleading because he knows how much his team struggles on the road, so they'll be taking on ULL on Wednesday night at the PMAC. But, yeah, you look at, I thought this weekend, I was assuming at least 2 teams from Louisiana would get in the men's tournament, at least, and all of them fell.
Yeah, it was a rough weekend, wasn't it? I mean, championship week turned out to be a dud for Louisiana. And I pointed out, this is the 6th time in the last dozen years that Louisiana's failed to put even a single school in the NCAA tournament. I don't know what you call that. Is that embarrassing? Is it sad? I mean,
I don't know if you can. I guess partially if you're talking about, and again, I think if we talk about March Madness as a whole, with the bracket being released, the men's bracket being released last night, the women's bracket will be released tonight at 6. It's like we talked about last week. When it comes to the NCAA tournament and when it comes to a selection committee having to decide between 31, 32 teams that are in automatically, and then you have to fill out the rest of the field with 350, 300 some odd teams, it's not going to be easy. And what you're doing is you're parading the non-conference scheduling, strength of schedule, RPI, your wins and other teams' wins, your losses, blah, blah, blah. Did you win on the home, on the road, neutral sites? There's so many different metrics that they use, which, by the way, if you watch ESPN or watch most of these sites, the NCAA doesn't use all these things like strength of record and BPI. The NCAA doesn't use that. The NCAA uses the RPI, their quadrant-based system, which has got the mid-majors fired up, such as Kermit Davis at Middle Tennessee and St. Mary's, because they feel like, and they've said on record to Jeff Goodman, that they feel like with the quadrant system that they have no shot being able to make the tournament as that large because it's unfair to them, which, they may have a point to. But the selection committee have to choose between 300 teams. It's not easy. There are going to be teams that are good that are left out. USC, teams like that, Notre Dame, how they get filtered in.
I know a school that got left out. I know one school, and it sounds like Louisiana, but it's a certain school that Jeff might know. They who got left out? Who got in and who got out?
Well, the highest ranked program that didn't make it according to the Ken Pom rankings, Ken Pomeroy, which is the one I always go to. RPI McGee over here uses RPI.
RPI.
St. Mary's, 28-5. Did not make it in. They were 28th in the Ken Pom rankings. I don't think any of the Louisiana schools have a leg to stand on. If you look at Ken Pom, LSU's the highest ranked program. They're 61st, and then Louisiana Lafayette is 66th. They didn't play a tough enough schedule. And I think that's what the selection committee members were saying is step it up in your pre-conference slate.
Well, when we talked with Carl Benson last week, the commissioner of the Sun Belt, he knew that ULL needed to win the tournament, that they weren't going to get 2 bids. And even though they had a great season,
Georgia State won the tournament, and the reward for them is going to Nashville to play number two seed Cincinnati. So that shows you clearly where the committee put the Sun Belt as a conference. So, because you would have hoped that obviously UL was going to be your champion horse with their record, with their RPI, probably would have gotten a higher seed than that. But obviously Georgia State won as a 2 seed, and they get to go play Cincinnati in what almost I would imagine is going to be a home game for really both sides, because Atlanta's not that far, but that's where it is. And with the SEC getting 8 teams in, that's tough, man.
All right, let's take a break right here on the show, and when we get back, we will talk Maravich, ESPN Films' latest SEC storied series. We'll talk with the director, Fritz Mitchell. It premieres tonight at 8 p.m. on the SEC Network. So we'll talk with Fritz Mitchell coming up here next. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Can't see
weather forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you by Subway.
Happy Monday from the Fox 8 Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. A cold front moved through overnight. That's bringing in windy conditions and much cooler conditions for today. So temperatures will likely stay in the upper 50s and low 60s all throughout the day, with sunny and breezy conditions continuing into the afternoon hours. What we'll see tonight, temperatures falling into the upper 30s on the North Shore, upper 40s for the metro area. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great day.
Want a great meal for under $5? Because Subway restaurants
he's not used to that.
He's like one of 5 6-inch subs, plus chips and a 21-ounce fountain drink for $4.99. Only at Subway. Limited time only at participating restaurants. Additional charge for extras plus applicable tax.
Mr. Ed's Seafood and Italian Restaurant, serving the best fried chicken in town. Fresh Louisiana seafood as well as delicious Italian dishes. Try our daily chef specials or an overstuffed po' boy. Open Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. with 2 locations to serve you. In Bucktown at 1001 Live Oak.
All right, we got him. Fritz? Yeah, we got a minute and a half. Well, a minute and 10 seconds.
Mr. Ed's catered your next event. Mr. Ed's Seafood and Italian.
That's what I do.
Locations, one great menu. Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House. Now
Yes, we
open
got
a
to
quarter, 7 days a
promo
week at 512 Bienville.
remote again, too.
Every day this week, baby.
Save this spring at Lowe's. Make refreshing updates to your bath with up to 15% off select Peerless bath faucets, available in a variety of styles and finishes. And update your flooring with fashionable wood look tiles starting at 99 cents a square foot. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's.
This is his third SEC story. He's done It's Time, which is on Chucky Mullins, Norm, which is on Norm Stewart, and now
At
Maravich.
CVS
They also
Pharmacy at
did the
Target,
Ghost of
we
Ole
put a
Miss.
little extra
I never
heart
saw that
into
one.
That one's a good
everything
one.
we do.
That one's a good
like
one. And then
actively
The Legend
looking
of
to
Jimmy
save
the
you
Greek.
money. Generics, 90-day refills, even rewards. Get a $5 Target coupon for every
Yeah, you might
10
be right.
prescriptions.
He's got some kind of
On your
connection
next
down here,
Target
doesn't
run,
he? But I guess
stop by
he's
CVS
SEC Network.
Pharmacy.
You gotta
We're the place
focus
with
on
the big
SEC.
heart.
All right, 10 seconds.
Prescriptions, including those purchased in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other restrictions apply. See cvs.com/extracare-target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is everything.
Our insiders are talking your teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back. Duncan Holder here. Let's hit the phone lines and let's talk with Fritz Mitchell. He's the director of Maravich, ESPN Films' latest in the SEC storied series. The film will be airing tonight, 8 p.m. Central on SEC Network. And Fritz, appreciate you jumping on the show. And so many of us know Pistol Pete down here, obviously, and one of the best basketball players in history, SEC history, of course, LSU history. There's an obvious motivation to do a movie on Pistol Pete. But what are maybe some of the things that you learned about him, maybe that you didn't know beforehand?
I think everybody knows the rough sketchings of a father and son relationship, but I think if you dig deeper into that and look at the situation with his mom and how her health conditions were spiraling down as he was playing basketball through his high school and college years, you realize there's a careful balance going on between the greatness on the basketball court and a personal life that has a lot of difficulties and challenges associated with it.
Well, Fritz, that's one of the questions I have is that, Maravich has been well documented throughout his career. What was the challenge for you? Did you all feel like you were trying to uncover and break new ground here, or were you trying to just kind of tell his life story through the relationship with his father? What was why now on a Maravich documentary?
I think the SEC had never done one on Pete, and certainly he's one of the greatest athletes, in any sport to have passed through the conference. So it was an obvious overlook, and they wanted to do something on him. For me, I'm always interested in about what motivates people, what drives people, and where they and certainly the father and son relationship was something that had been touched on and really thoroughly looked at in Mark Kriegel's book, but in documentary form had never been explored. And so that's why I was interested. And I remembered growing up as a kid, during the era when UCLA dominated basketball, and there was that great game between Elvin Hayes and Lou Alcindor, that there was this other guy out there that sort of captured the imagination of all basketball fans. I'm sort of old enough to remember looking at those Sports Illustrated covers, and Pete Maravich was the guy.
Fritz Mitchell, director of Maravich, tonight 8 p.m. on SEC Network, part of ESPN Films' SEC Storied series. He's joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. When you look at the way Pistol Pete played, we could all see how he was a revolutionary. It seemed like he was he came on way before maybe people were ready for that style of basketball. Just what did you make of the way he was able to play and kind of bring a new flair to the game?
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to players today, they say it reminds them more of a kind of street sort of basketball. Certainly, it was rejected by some at the time as being showy, flashy, and and not a modest kind of basketball. But as you said, he did revolutionize the game. But you have to remember, this is a guy whose father tells him at a very young age, in order to get a college scholarship, because he can't afford to pay for college, he's going to have to use basketball as a ticket. So not only does he work hard, and he has the talent, the coordination, the speed, the quickness, the agility, the hand-eye, all of that, but Press gets lucky in the sense that the kid who was so tiny that they named him Pistol because he shot from the waist, grows to be 6'6".
Yeah, Fritz, and you say that Pete was the first robo-athlete. What do you mean by that?
I think he's the first specialized athlete. The plan is out there. There's a plan in place to make a great basketball player. It's like a test tube experiment almost. I mean, in more recent years, and not so recent, we remember reading about Todd Marinovich being brought up by his father in California and going off to USC. And so much of sports today is specialized. Many great high school athletes only play one sport. And Pete seems to be the first one that I can remember who put all of it, all of his efforts, channeled all of his skill, all of his ability into one sport, in a gym, in the movie theater, bouncing outside a car door or a car window, in the rain. And really that was his sole focus for the first 21 years of his life.
Fritz Mitchell, director of Maravich, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. When the players that you talked to about Pete Maravich, what were maybe the one or two things that stood out to you from some of the interviews that you did with people when talking about Pistol Pete?
I think when you're going through the time, and I talked to a lot of college and high school players, I only talked to one pro player. When you're going through that moment, you're just trying to win basketball games. But when you look back on it, on your life, and you compartmentalize whether it was a high school or a college player, you say to yourself, wow, I was lucky to be there. And I don't think they realized that at the time. It was just part of their life growing up. And when they look back on it, they cherish it and realize how special it really was. They witnessed history.
And Fritz, did you, in your course of reporting and digging into this story, where were you able to find the documentary footage of him? I mean, was it readily available? I know he didn't play that long ago, but was it difficult to find, or was there tons of film of him?
There at one point was a lot of film footage available, and it's been picked over a lot over the years. So you're going to a lot of different sources trying to find those images. I think Press paid to have the games filmed, and certainly when people come through and get the film, they get left places or they get thrown away or whatever. So it's still out there, but it's just a little harder to find. You have to go to all sorts of nooks and crannies to find it.
Fritz, this documentary goes in line with a lot of the ones you've made here really over the course of the last 8 or 9, 10 years with the 30 for 30 on the Ghost of Ole Miss, which is one of my favorites, along with Norm Stewart, and then It's Time. Can you talk a little bit about your affinity specifically with the SEC and some of these that you've done so far and how it's kind of shaped how you started really with, Ole Miss, then moving to Missouri and LSU, and just your overall arc when talking about the Southeastern Conference and some of the players players and coaches who may not have had that national recognition, but people knew who they were?
I think I'm interested in what was and what used to be, and there's certainly no shortage of great storytelling associated with the South. When I first started covering college football and mostly college football, I was at CBS Sports, who had either with the CFA or then later on when they signed the deal in '95 to cover college football. So I started going to all these towns in the South, and I loved the South. I loved the storytelling. The players were interesting. Their passion for the sports was above and beyond anything I'd seen before. And so I sort of, was assigned to it and naturally migrated to it.
Fritz Mitchell, director of Maravich, again, premiering tonight on ESPN Films, SEC Storied Series. It premieres tonight, 8 p.m. Central on the SEC Network. Hey, Fritz, really appreciate it. Definitely going to check out the documentary, and thanks for taking the time.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You got it. All right. Once again, Maravich premieres tonight, 8 p.m. on the SEC Network. And you always hear the legends of Pistol Pete and some of the things he was able to do, and then the complicated life that he led as far as when he was a child and to when he grew up and died suddenly at the age of 40.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they document the relationship between he and his father, which, he's right. Mark Kriegel did go into that in his great biography. If you've ever read Mark Kriegel's biography on Pete Maravich, I mean, it is one of the best sports books I've ever read. I'm eager to see how he documents that, because that's a part of Maravich's life that I don't think a lot of people know about off the court. What was he like off the court compared to just all the dazzling highlights that we've all seen? And you're right, Larry. I mean, he was way ahead of his time. I mean, he would be amazing in today's game if he played in the NBA. Just think how many points he would average.
Yeah,
with three-pointers.
That's what I always think that when I think of Pistol Pete. If anyone's ever gone through and did the research, I mean, it would take you probably forever, but drew up the three-point line and documented each of his shots just to see how many he actually hit from three. I'd love to see someone take the time and do that.
Yeah, just to see how many points he left would have actually had. I mean, no one would ever come close to eclipsing his numbers. Now, he wasn't shy. We all know that. I mean, he got his shots. I know my father was a diehard Kentucky fan. Used to always proudly talk about how Pete Maravich would get his points, but LSU could never beat Kentucky. Mighty Kentucky would always knock them off because they just had so many other good players. Dan Issel back in those days, but Pete would get his. He always made it entertaining.
Volume shooter, would you call him?
Yes, I think that's what I would call.
I think the volume
shooter. He had nights where he was shooting over 40 shots a game. I mean, that's a lot of shots.
I'd be tired.
Even Carmelo doesn't put up that many shots.
Right.
Yeah,
Russell Westbrook doesn't put up that many.
Not like they don't try. Not like they don't attempt to do
They
that.
would if
just
they
can't
could.
hit it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, check that out tonight. SEC Network. Maravich premieres 8 p.m. tonight on the SEC Network. And why don't we take a break right here on the show? We get back, we'll keep talking Saints, keep talking Pelicans, SEC Tournament. You panicked about Drew Brees. And, I had a free agent wish list I published this weekend. We can go through some of those names and some of the more high-profile free agents and maybe some under the radar that I think the Saints may be looking at. So we'll talk about all that. And if you want to get involved, give us a call. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeart Radio app. Dunc and Holder.
With up to 16 chances a day, every weekday to win $1,000. A smart move. would be to listen.
I'm a smart speaker, and I agree.
The keyword to text and win comes at the top of the hour.
The smart money is on.
Sports 1280.
I'm definitely going to watch
New
it
Orleans.
Hi, Eric Ashford, Celebrity Chef Scott Craig of Katie's. Scott, you have to be excited about Katie's expanded second floor seating and private dining rooms.
Yeah, but how about my vast local sports knowledge?
You know sports, but shouldn't we be talking about your award-winning Sunday brunch?
I'd rather talk about the Bells.
How about your award-winning pizza or daily specials?
You said they're trying to trade. The Rams are trying to trade Tavon Austin.
What about
Man,
Katie's
the Rams are like
award-winning menu?
Okay, folks, I invite you to dine at
moving and
Katie's.
shaking.
Eric and I don't have to brag about the food at Katie's. The food speaks for itself.
Katie's open 7 days a week.
Why
in
would they
Hardeman
want
City
to trade him?
at
Is he good?
3701 Oppenheimer.
You know, before Boost, our phone
Well, I thought
bill
we
was
talked about that. I thought we
obscene.
talked about how they
I had to
were
hide it from the kids.
trying to get
So
younger,
we switched to Boost and got
mostly
lines for the
younger, I
whole
think, in that
family with
position.
unlimited gigs for a
They had
much
paid him
more
a lot.
family-friendly price. It's nice to have a phone bill that doesn't
They paid him
require
a lot
parental
early,
controls.
and now they're
Your
just trying to,
family
like,
deserves better than scary phone bills. Get 4 lines for only $25 per line, each with unlimited gigs. Plus, get up to 4 free Samsung J7 perks with 6 months of Hulu,
like
where you can
Richard
stream
Sherman
all the
got
shows everyone
paid.
is talking about.
Yeah.
All on a
39
super
million?
reliable and
Yeah.
super
Oh, how
fast
much?
nationwide network.
3 years,
Boost makes it
39
easy to
million? That's a lot of
switch.
money.
Switching makes it easy to
I don't know how much
save.
San Francisco
3 years, 39 million,
$100 a month
and
line.
2
For free.
times
Requires
every
1 line
season
includes
that
unlimited
he
talk,
is
text,
going
and
to
data with
talk
video
mad
streams
yank
at 480p
about
music
Russell
up to
Wilson.
500 kilobits per second, giving up to 2
can't
megabits per
wait.
second.
Mad
ADD
what?
prioritization
Yank.
during congestion. Free drones require
Yeah.
porting, purchase of
I'm
eligible
mad
devices.
glad we have you here.
Is that what the cool kids are saying?
Yes, yes, that's what the kids are saying.
I'm like, is that a word?
Subscribers only. Additional restrictions apply.
It's like,
Terms at www.boostmobile.com/Hulu-terms. Coverage and offers not available everywhere. Restrictions apply.
Got benched. Got benched in the game.
Right on the 18th hole. Plus,
How long was that touchdown? 99 yards?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that's a party. The Champions Club at
The one thing I did respect about him, though, is he owned it after the game.
yeah.
I always had respect for him because, like, a lot of guys were like, I'm not talking.
A new survey from Read Aloud 15 Minutes shows that parents aren't reading enough to their children. Pediatrician John Hutton of Cincinnati
imagine if,
Children's
like,
Hospital
Drew
says
Brees
reading
would've
aloud to
signed
babies
somebody
and
else?
toddlers
What would it
fosters
be?
the language
yeah.
and
I kinda
literacy
can.
skills
I kinda
needed
can,
for
and I
success
kind
in
of-
school.
I would
Being
be
allowed with the
taking
child is one of
a
the
vacation on
strongest
the
ways
worst
to
week.
promote
Yeah, you
early
would.
brain
Yeah, you would.
development.
Oh, hey,
The
where's Jeff
survey
Fish? Well,
shows
you don't know
fewer
what Jeff
than
thinks.
half of
Just
all
out of
parents
I mean,
read
of
aloud to
all
their
week.
Just in
children
London.
every
He
day,
goes
and that
fast. I mean,
2/3
it'll
stop
be a
reading to their
meltdown.
kids once they're old enough
massive
to read to
meltdown. It would be a
themselves.
massive.
Dr. Hutton recommends reading a book to your child every day, starting at birth, for at least 15 minutes. A New York City Assemblywoman is introducing a tampon bill. It would require every public bathroom in the state to provide free tampons and sanitary
okay.
napkins. Linda Rosenthal, a Manhattan Democrat, says those products are a necessity, just like
All right, coming back.
Health Update. Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Jeff, you brought it up in the commercial. As we inch closer to the start of free agency, the open negotiation period for other teams to call free agents that are not on their team starts in 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
12 minutes.
Countdown.
And no Drew Brees under contract. I'm wondering how many teams call him. I'm curious to know.
When the word leaks out that he is talking to another team, that is when panic will ensue.
Pandemonium.
You were talking about what if he happened to leave? That it would be a catastrophic meltdown here in the city.
Yeah, I don't think we'd ever recover from it in this city. And it's not going to happen. I'll be honest. I don't think that is a remote possibility. But even him talking to other teams, and trust me, if he does, Tom Condon will do that strategically and leak that out. That will leak out quickly, probably to Adam Schefter, and then we'll see how things progress.
I'm just curious to see what this money's going to look like for him and how long the deal is. It's going to be an indicator of just how much longer they think he can play. I don't think they're going to give him some 5-year deal, but you're curious to see if it's 1, curious to see if it's a 2 or 3-year deal, and it's going to be intriguing when this thing gets done. But the more we know that Drew Brees is not under contract, there's going to be panic. Just like the caller who called at the beginning of the show, he literally called 10 minutes before the show and was in a major panic just to even get on because he's nervous.
And I don't think he's alone, do you? I mean, I think there's a lot of fans a little anxious right now.
Yeah, how do we tell everybody to relax?
We've tried.
We tried to tell them to relax.
Spell it out for us, Clyde.
Literally, well, like Frankie says, the biggest thing is, Jeff, you've said it a dozen times. I feel like I've written it for our recap post every day since really this became a thing. This is how Mickey Loomis and the Saints operate. Larry, yeah, a deal's going to get done. This is how this has been done before. And it's like this ping pong game, and no matter how much you hear it, you're just kind of like, but I can't see it. It's like sight unseen, no faith whatsoever, and it just has so many people just absolutely riled up.
Well, just think back the last time there was a negotiation for a long-term deal. They franchise tagged him and went all the way within about 2 days before the deadline of whether he sits out or they get a long-term deal done, or he's just got to play under the 1-year salary cap. And it went down mid-July. I remember, no vacation for you because you're having to wait and track down what's going on with Drew Brees. And now, coming down to the wire, we saw the last time they extended him, they had to wait until the season began. They had to create money to create an extension for Drew Brees. They had to wait till they cut C.J. Spiller because they were in such dire straits with the salary cap. So, they've had some extreme negotiations. There's no doubt about it. But a deal always ends up getting done.
And, I think it's more important than ever this year because of all the things you just mentioned, Larry, the dead money that could accelerate. And also, strictly speaking, they've got to know what they're working with when they go out into free agency. Now, they've got room to maneuver, but they want to get that behind them so they can concentrate on adding to the roster and bolstering the roster. Why continue to have this? I know it's a big, big deal, and I've spoken to Mickey Loomis about this. He does not want to hamstrung the organization with future cap dollars. I mean, he doesn't want to get caught with a
he's already done
deal.
that. He's already done that with this Drew Brees deal as it is, because you've got $6 million in dead money. You're already going to have, and then you're going to have it again and again. And if you don't get a deal done in the next couple of days, you're going to have $18 million on the cap this year, and that's with Drew Brees not being a New Orleans Saint.
But here's the thought process behind that, and it makes sense. If you bring in a rookie at some point to be the developmental guy, or if it's Taysom Hill, whoever it is, they're going to be on a rookie salary. And when that money, when you finally move on from Drew Brees, you're going to have a rookie salary quarterback, and all that dead money to be there. So you're still only devoting so much money to the quarterback position. The problem, of course, is you basically have elite quarterback money with a guy that you really don't know if he's elite or not.
Right, and you got to worry about some of these other players too. Look, we're assuming Kenny Vaccaro is going to be gone. We're assuming that Zach Strief is going to retire. You're also probably assuming that Senio Kelemete is going to be gone. And then the question brought up a couple of weeks ago, and I wrote about it, what about these restricted free agents? You got to figure out if you're going to issue them a contract. And the main three we're talking here are Delvin Breaux, Willie Snead, and Brandon Coleman. And I don't know what the Saints are going to do with those guys. I don't have a good sense of whether they're going to tender them or give them a lesser deal, or I don't know where they stand. I would just assume by playing time last year, I would assume the Saints seem to be ready to walk away from Willie Snead, given they just basically eliminated him from the offense. So, but then you got to find a wide receiver. Like I mentioned in my free agent wish list column, just a couple of random names like Jordan Matthews and Kendall Wright. You want to find somebody who can come in and be a number 3 receiver. You're not looking for a number 1 guy. But, do they do that, or do they keep Willie Snead? All of these things are – it's not just the Drew Brees deal that they're having to worry about here.
And I mentioned during the break that there's a report out now that the Rams are shopping Tavon Austin, who is he would look good in a Saints uniform. He can handle returns. He's kind of a Brandon Cooks-like, playmaker. I don't know if he's that talented, but he's a good player. I think he was a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, he was. I think he was like 8th overall when he was coming out. It was he kind of shot up the draft boards. But look, they got all kinds of players that could be available. We're already seeing the reports about Ndamukong Suh. If the Saints really want to be a player with him, you got to know what you're working with Drew Brees. But so I don't know. And remember over the weekend, last week, Muhammad Wilkerson My sense is that I would be surprised if he would be a Saint. Just from the people I talked to, and it doesn't. He's going to be looking at other teams too. I would be surprised if he ended up with the Saints because of all the baggage that he brings.
Yeah,
it's really bad. It's not. He was not in the best situation with the Jets, and I don't know if he's changed or what, but he's going to command big money, and I don't think the Saints are going to be willing to risk it.
If the Dolphins part with Ndamukong Suh, which it sounds like that's what they're going to do, I'll tell you where I think he might land is Dallas. I could see that being a fit. Dallas could use a guy like that. They're not afraid to bring in somebody like him, and that would be a good fit. Dallas has been kind of quiet for the most part this offseason, a lot like the Saints. Not a lot going on. You don't hear a lot of news out of them.
Well, you hear a lot of news whenever Jerry Jones is having to pay the NFL's legal fees for the year. So,
ouch.
I mean, that's not a small pennies, but you're right. The only teams that you're hearing about are the teams that seemingly want to make literal shots at the Super Bowl. Philadelphia, Los Angeles, maybe Minnesota here soon.
Cleveland, they're going to win the Super Bowl.
San Francisco's making a lot of moves.
Town, everyone.
Yeah. The 49ers, John Lynch and that group, man, they're getting after it. They're going to be a lot better. They got a quarterback now. They got a lot of draft picks.
I think they're going to be a lot. Well, it's like they're going to shoot up, and the Seahawks are going to shoot down. And you're wondering if the Rams stay for real. But if you're the Saints, look, you got to go into this free agency thing. And I put 3 cornerbacks in my defensive wish list, and people are wondering why am I hung up on the big name cornerbacks like Tremaine Johnson and Malcolm Butler. But the more I've looked at it, I'd be high on them going after someone like Aaron Colvin, who I don't think is going to be back with Jacksonville. He's going to look to kind of cash out, and he's not even going to be a starter in Jacksonville. I mean, they've got Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boye, so he's best known for being kind of a nickel guy and being in the slot. He's probably better than who the Saints have outside of except maybe Marshawn Lattimore. So I would, if I were going to spend on a corner, I'd probably spend on him.
Yeah, if you're going to spend money, it's because everything else is going to be 5 figures per year. You know, you're going to be up in the $10, $12 million a year payout, and I'm not sure the Saints are in that market when they've got a number 1 already in Lattimore. They're looking for a number 2, maybe a number 3.
And, yeah, people want to say, oh, well, you're disrespecting Ken Crawley. I just think they can upgrade. I'm not saying Ken Crawley can't be on the team. I just think you could upgrade at the starting spot. And I would see there's some candidates that are out there that would be viable options to come in and start.
It's not disrespecting anybody. You increase the competition. Bring them in. Let them compete for the job.
Well, that's the thing, too. Do you guys feel that because there's so much panic around Drew Brees' contract that we're not really talking about really assessing and or talking about guys that you can bring in to help really bolster the squad? Because there's so much focus on that to where we're not talking about, do you want another wide receiver? Do you want another, quarterback, safety, whatever? It's just, I feel like that gets lost in the shuffle because you have to have a team to win a Super Bowl. You have to have a great quarterback, but I just feel like we're not talking about that enough.
We'll go through some of those positions because I had to do that in my free agent wish list, and you're not thinking about these. And, oh, by the way, do you think the Saints are going to get Jimmy Graham? He's still... It's like we forgot about him all of a sudden, even though we were all hot and bothered by him a week ago.
Is Taysom Hill going to throw to him since he's going to be the quarterback?
Oh, no. Here we go.
Our number 1 is tourism ad in the background.
Our number 2 is coming up next here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
We're not Detroit!
Yes, that was perfect, Dave. That was awesome.
We're not Detroit!
We're not Detroit!
Customers can get Amazon Prime.
I have a big giant man-child.
At the regular rate. EBT card holders already are eligible for the reduced
river
Prime
that catches
memberships.
on fire.
The fire. Orange heavies.
If you find it stressful, wait around.
Oh, it's so good.
More employers
so good.
have
Guys are like cracking up.
It's funny.
option of getting up to half their pay every day.
Oh, nice.
Some employers have found the program to be a huge workers. Many iPhones can survive dips in the sink or toilet, but that's not so true for the Lightning Charger. Apple's applying for a patent for a connector that will keep water out when the phone's charging. And that could be very helpful for people who like to charge their phones in the kitchen, bathroom, or by the pool. It would also be designed to protect against things like sand. Tech Update, Lisa G, NBC News Radio.
WODT, WNOE, FM, HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280.
Comedian Eddie B coming to the Sanger. Jay-Z and Beyonce coming. That's big. Wasn't Jay-Z just here?
Trending.
Yeah, he was.
Still off and running in the National Football League. Arizona Cardinals have said goodbye to Adrian Peterson. They've released the tailback. Meanwhile,
Adrian
Jeff
Peterson,
Darlington's report the Miami Dolphins could release Ndamukong Suh as early as today.
I gave him enough.
Seattle Seahawks have agreed to terms on a 3-year contract worth $13.95 million. The safety Bradley McDougal. Redskins have re-signed kicker Dustin Hopkins. Raiders have punted away DB Sean Smith. The Cowboys have re-signed defensive tackle Brian Price to a 2-year deal. In Major League Baseball, Neil Walker is signed with the New York Yankees. A physical is pending. In the NBA, USA Today is reporting Kyrie Irving is doubtful to play at all this week to rest his bad knee. Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade out against Portland. Hassan Whiteside will also sit. I'm David Gascon.
Your shot at $1,000 now. Text the keyword WIN to 200-200. You'll get a text confirming entry plus iHeartRadio info. Standard data and message rates apply. That's WIN to 200-200.
At CVS Pharmacy at Target, we put a little extra heart into everything we do, like actively looking to save you money. Generics, 90-day refills, even rewards. Get a $5 Target coupon for every 10 prescriptions. On your next Target run, stop by CVS Pharmacy. We're the place with the big heart. Not valid on all prescriptions, including those purchased in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other restrictions apply. See cvs.com/extracare-target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is everything.
There's no wrong way to eat an Oreo cookie. But just in case you need a refresher, here's a tried and true method. Step 1, twist. Step 2, lick. Step 3, dunk. Step 4, repeat. Preferably with family, friends, and anyone else who wants a taste. See, you can't go wrong by twisting, licking, and dunking Oreo cookies. Just grab a cold glass of milk and practice these easy steps. Soon enough, you'll understand why Oreo is milk's favorite cookie. Try it today
Probably
with
yesterday
Oreo.
or earlier this week.
Mike Hudson, area president for iHeartMedia New Orleans. iHeartMedia New Orleans is growing its sales force. If you're an experienced media writer, any media, I want to talk to you. Call me, 504-679-7300, or email me, Michael Hudson at iHeartMedia.com. iHeartMedia is the largest media company in the world. Grow with us. We're looking for you. We'll pay you what you're worth. 504-679-7300, or email me, Michael Hudson at iHeartMedia.com. iHeartMedia is an equal opportunity employer.
Join Relay for Life and help us beat our biggest rival, cancer. Sign up today at relayforlife.org and help us attack cancer in our community.
Coming up in the business week ahead, a load of reports on the status of the economy during February, including the Small Business Confidence Index, consumer prices, producer prices, import prices, retail sales, and business inventories, along with housing starts and building permits.
Saying the Bucks
also,
might
the
go after
latest on
Sue.
job openings in January is the latest month of data. Also this week, the Home Builders Confidence Index for this month and the mid-March reading on consumer sentiment, which has been sky high. Don't want to buy or lease a car? A growing number of automakers and some independent companies are offering a third option, a car subscription. Some of the subs allow you to switch vehicles anytime you want.
All it takes is logging into your app and saying to the concierge, I want a car on Friday and I want it to be a sports car.
Carol Locknett with online car buying guide Edmunds.com says car subscription services are gaining popularity because a single payment covers everything.
You get the use of the car, you get roadside
Hey, I saw where that
assistance,
guy
you
won
get
the
regular
New Orleans
maintenance
dad won the
included, any
boxing
necessary
thing.
repairs
Yeah.
that would be covered by a warranty.
Yeah, New Orleans guy is like a
Even
world
one of the more
champion, right?
expensive of car
Holds the belt.
expenses, insurance.
NBC's Chris Clacken reporting the subscription fees. The Care by Volvo program is $600 a month.
I can't remember
the
his
Porsche
name.
Passport, $2,000. Medicare
Like a,
recipients, you're getting a new
unique
ID
name.
card
Yeah.
designed to better protect your
I follow him on
identity.
Twitter. I think
Social
it's,
Security
you
numbers will
do?
no longer be on the front of the
Yeah,
cards.
I was
They'll have a
wondering,
unique
yeah,
Medicare
who
number
this guy
instead.
was. I think
You don't
his
need to
Twitter
do
handle's
anything or
like
pay
Rougarou.
anyone to get your new card. They'll be sent automatically in the mail starting in April and over the next year. And more than 1 million garbage disposal switches are being recalled over a fire hazard. The recall involves InSinkErator.
Did y'all see that stat yesterday? Kentucky's won more SEC tournaments than the rest of the
40
conference.
reports of fire causing overheating damage to the
insane.
power module and the outlet beneath the sink. So stop using the switch and contact InSinkErator for a free replacement. Consumer and Business News, Joe McConnell, NBC News Radio.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the
30 seconds.
companies here in Louisiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school.
Almost forgot to come back. I got in a conversation. I was like, oh, I got to go do a radio show.
Plus leaders.
I'm working. I forgot about that.
So,
work, schmirk.
Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Louisiana High School Athletic Association and the Louisiana High School Athletic Directors Association.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2 on a Monday, March 12th. Larry Holder, Jeff Dunc, and Clyde Verdun here with you in our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. Dave DeCorbier back in iHeart Central. And don't forget, Friday, we're taking this show, well, at least a couple of the people who are on the show are hitting the road. Going to be at the Troubadour Hotel at the rooftop bar, the Monkey Board, 1111 Gravier Street. We're going to be eating some crawdads, having a good kickoff Friday crawfish from 5 until they run out. We'll be there from 5 to 7. $25 includes 3 pounds of crawfish and 2 local draft beers, and you can also reserve a cabana for all of your peeps with a $500 minimum of food and beverages. And bring 10 of you. Get in the cabana, and we'll be there eating some crawfish. Jeff will be in Europe. You won't be there? What's
Going to
with
London.
you?
Flying to London on Thursday.
Wonderful city.
St.
Wonderful.
Patrick's
Didn't
Day.
you just go there?
Yes.
And now you're going back?
Going back, yeah.
I would.
St. Patrick's Day Festival. Looking forward to it. But I'm going to miss this event on Friday. It sounds like a great time. Look, I still have yet to get some crawfish. I don't know what I'm doing.
You?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Weirdo.
But I'm...
Daylight saving time today. Dave and Josh is like, man.
I guess so.
I am jacked, though. We got an extra hour of light. That is...
I'm not jacked about the less hour sleep.
Yeah, I think there are some sluggish people around.
Not jacked about
the world
that
today.
right now. Yes, yeah.
There were a lot of people at Audubon Park last night out enjoying that extra hour because you can get in a run, walk, whatever, bike ride a little bit later.
Active people.
There was a lot of people. The park was packed.
Well, yesterday after the rain flew by, we had our annual Algiers Friendship Day, our big St. Patty's Day block party, and that was wonderful weather. Just don't go too far down the other side of the levee because you'll end up in the river because the river seems like it's about to overflow.
High right now.
Yes.
Have they opened the spillway yet?
Oh, yeah, they opened it on Friday.
Okay.
Yes.
I couldn't remember if it was coming up or not.
Yeah.
And the river's still high. It shows you how much volume of water comes down this river.
Well, I'm sure people's anxieties are definitely high. We're 8 minutes into free agency. Drew Brees is not under contract. He's leaving. I'm officially going off the shark. Panic time.
Is that
total?
That's not shark quite accurate, is it? He's still under contract for till March 14th.
2 more days.
Yes,
but he can legally talk with other teams, as in Tom Condon, like as if he wasn't already doing this. And so, yeah, I know some people are. I put it on Twitter. They're still staying calm, but others are very much panic, saying they need to hurry up. And then someone sent me a picture of Kermit the Frog going crazy because they're panicked. People are starting to get panicked, and I understand it. I get it. Imagine if Drew Brees decides to pick up the phone and it's John Elway. Imagine if Drew Brees picks up the phone and it's Woody Johnson from the Jets. You never know.
What if we hear a report of like a Minnesota Vikings plane landing in the Del Mar airport?
Oh, those people are going to come out the woodworks. The plane trackers, the people who just track plane tails and stuff. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Well, people are going to be wondering. They'd have to monitor either here or out there because we don't really know unless you're following Drew Brees around which part of the country he's in right now because he spends part of his off season in the San Diego area, which many NFL players do. But yeah, I'm wondering how many teams call him. Like, as in right now. I'm curious because people know that he wants to stay in New Orleans, and yet I'm sure people are still going to take that and be like, maybe we could pry him. Let's see what we can do. I'm curious to see how many teams actually call him.
I think what will be interesting to see is if Breeze will even entertain it. After he's been on record saying he expects to finish his career in New Orleans, will he even go to that point? I don't think he will until he feels like he's not getting a deal from the Saints, or if he's going to get to that point of March 14th. But I really don't think he will. I may be wrong. I may be being naive that they would use that as a leverage ploy, but I just feel like he and Mickey Loomis are on the same page on this, and they don't want to get into negotiating ploys and games. I think they're beyond that at this stage of the relationship.
You would think that, but who knows? You never know. They might be trying to play hardball, and one side or the other, and the fact that a deal hasn't been done and now you've gotten into this window would lend me to believe someone's playing hardball. I don't think they're just not calling each other and not writing numbers and passing them across the table like, here, this is what we're looking for. So somebody's got to be playing hardball at this point when we're 2 days away from him being able to sign somewhere else. And we're now 11 minutes into where other teams can pick up the phone and call him. Say, what's up, Drew? How are things hanging? You want to come play with us?
Larry's got the countdown clock.
I mean, that's what would happen if Drew went away. It'd be just like when Luke Skywalker figured out Darth Vader was his dad, dude.
After losing his hand? After losing his hand? Yeah. Okay, so basically we're going to be clinging to life with only one hand after Darth Vader says he's your father.
Well, sure.
Close enough? Okay.
That's Drew Brees.
I like it.
That's the Drew Brees if he leaves, sure.
Worse not that if he goes to like a specific contender like Denver,
Minnesota would be the big one.
Minnesota.
Because people are all assuming that Minnesota is going to land Kirk Cousins.
Arizona
would. I bet you Larry Fitzgerald would be like, "Hey Drew, hey buddy,
hey man,
hey, you come throw me the football."
I'm going to the Hall of Fame. You're going to go to the Hall of Fame. Let's make this a Hall of Fame pairing tandem.
Well, they'll be without Adrian Peterson, so it'll be okay since the Cardinals are going to cut him. They
must have read your running back.
They apparently know he's got an F in the season, so hey, smart peeps over there in Arizona.
I think of the great line from Ghostbusters. Remember when they came out and said, it could be panic in the streets, the dead rising from the grave, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. That's what it would be if Drew Brees were to even get to free agency.
Imagine if he's taking a visit. Imagine even just that happened. Drew Brees is going to be visiting the Arizona Cardinals. What? Chaos.
Dogs and cats living together.
It would be total chaos.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes. It would be
the end of time.
Yes, New Orleans. Well, I don't know. I mean, I actually suggested them putting Drew Brees on the Lee Circle, making it Brees Circle, and putting a statue of him up there. He's been that popular in Louisiana. Everybody loves Drew Brees.
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, he's one of the greatest figures ever here. Period. And
he's in our 300 for 300, I assume.
Yes, he was.
Yes. I mean, how could he not be?
Announced, yes.
Is Clyde in that list? Did Clyde make the
300? Clyde, I'm not like 302.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll take 302. But guys, as a user on Twitter, CJ, also known as @WhoDatChris, tweeted to the Duncan Holder Twitter account @DuncanHolder on Twitter. The Saints, if the Saints want to fill that dome, they better sign QB9 before Friday. And he has a screenshot of an email from the New Orleans Saints saying that the deadline is Friday for a Saints season ticket renewal. So,
interesting.
Oh man,
I'd say that's a point of emphasis maybe in Tom Condon's thinking as well. Just total panic. People are going to quit buying tickets.
And are we going to get Herbie Teope on the show this week? I know he dropped his mock draft today, right?
Yes, he did.
I think
he did.
Are we going to tease that, or should we just leave it alone?
I'd go check it out. I'm curious. I haven't even, honestly, as a bad coworker, I haven't even looked at it.
A bad coworker.
Sorry.
It's Monday. You're still adjusting to daylight savings time.
Yeah, we're all going to be doing this for like the next 2.5 weeks until we get to mid-April, and then it starts raining like cats and dogs, and we can't do nothing.
So. Yeah, exactly. But Okay, 14 minutes in, and there's still no Drew Brees contract. Panic.
Are we going to do this for the rest of the hour? Can I just
Probably.
Can I just ask like that now? Because I want to be on record that we're going to be doing the Drew Brees minute-by-minute tracker for the rest of the show, knowing that we got to still talk about. Thank you. Yes, absolutely, because the screen is frozen. Your free agent wish list, which had Jimmy Graham and a defensive player, which I don't think a lot of people are talking about. And then talking about the Pelicans losing 2 straight because we still haven't talked about them, and/or the rest of March Madness. That should be the rest of the show.
I forgot about the Pels, yeah.
15 minutes, and there's been no Drew Brees contract. Just a heads up.
Can we end the show now?
Just a heads up.
Can we end the show now, Dave?
If there's no,
are we contractually obligated for like the last, 45 minutes?
By the time the show ends and there's no Drew Brees contract, it will be 58 minutes and 50 seconds into free agency.
Can you keep a running tally until tomorrow? Because I want like hourly.
There's no doubt
daily.
I can do that.
Okay,
I could do it on Twitter every minute that passes by without a Drew Brees contract.
It was not a great weekend, think about it, for local sports. We didn't get a team in the tournament. Pels dropped 2 games. No Drew Brees deal announced. We are anticipating that one of the great modern-day Saints offensive linemen, Zach Strief, is going to retire. I guess that's a positive story in some ways. But not a lot of good things happening right now. Anthony Davis with a sprained ankle didn't look that good when he came back. I don't know. Am I being Debbie Downer or just reporting the facts?
No. I mean, I would probably say more than anything, I guess, with the way that the weekend went and the fact that we're kind of now at that point where from now until March Madness is over, from now until the Final Four of the National Championship game, you literally you're going to get a month straight of both men's basketball, women's basketball postseason until the National Championship game, and then there's nothing until, the Masters? Baseball will start between then, but literally the only other thing between now and then is the Masters.
And speaking of, we didn't even mention Tiger Woods over the weekend.
That's true.
Man, can you imagine if Steve Worthy and crew can lure him to the Zurich Classic?
For real.
He lit up that tournament yesterday. All of a sudden, golf was relevant again. Makes the 44-foot putt to put the pressure on, I think it was Paul Casey who ended up winning. But now that Tiger is back, I think his odds to win the Masters, odds McGee over here, shot up. I think he's now 10-1 to win. I think he's like the 3rd or 4th favorite to win the Masters after that performance.
That would be a huge coup if they ended up getting him for the Zurich.
Yeah,
huge.
It would be massive.
Who would he play with, though? That's what I'm wondering. Does he have any friends?
Yeah, I think so.
He'd have to play with like Marco Mira. I feel like that's like his only
Marco Mira.
That's like his only golf friend that I've ever known him to have, Marco Mira.
Yeah, that's because he didn't. Well, I mean,
I think Steve Elkington was.
Yeah, but isn't that now the thing? It's like the Tiger Woods redemption tour. Reconnecting with buddies. Oh, me and Phil Mickelson are the best of friends now, and things such as maybe he'll go back and get his old caddy.
Bones.
Yeah, go back and get Bones on the bags, man. And then, really just going to walk up the 18th green at the Masters being it's going to be just like 10 Cup.
Something like that. All right, let's take a break right here on this show. When we get back, let's dive into Pelicans talk. They have lost 2 straight. They're still in 4th place in the Western Conference, but tough stretch for the Pelicans. Can't afford to go on a losing streak at this point, the way the Western Conference is going. So, all right, we'll talk about that. We'll take your phone calls, 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved.
And it's 18 minutes after the hour and no Drew Brees.
You just stole my thunder. I was right. That was going to come right out of my mouth. 18 minutes, and there's no Drew Brees contract, but there is a picture floating around on Twitter of Tom Brady's cut hand. Does not look pretty, the fact that he had to play with that thing for the Super Bowl. So,
great. More conspiracy theories.
Yeah, all right. Come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeart Radio app. Jump and holder. Here's the clock.
Fletcher texted and said Jason Day is Tiger's close friend. Jason Day is a
Sources tell me that almost
sponsor.
All the way to Mobile.
We're almost in Mobile.
Almost.
Jason Day played with Tiger. It would be massive.
Noted Kiwi.
Almost Mobile.
Yes. I think he lives up in Ohio now, though.
Josh Innes,
sick?
mornings 6 to 10 on Sports 1280 New
Kinda.
Orleans.
Or just
iHeartRadio now makes it even easier to listen to all your favorite podcasts. No need for another app. All the biggest names in podcasting can be found in the iHeartRadio app. Literally thousands of them, like NPR's full lineup of podcasts, including the TED Radio Hour, plus Bill Simmons, How Stuff Works, the New York Times, comedian Mark Maron, Barstool Sports, and more. All available for free. free. Now your favorite radio app can be your favorite podcast app. Download or open the free iHeartRadio app and tap podcast to start exploring.
People who name their savings accounts save more than those who don't. The following was inspired by a Navy Federal Credit Union savings account named Family Vacation.
This was such a good call.
Oh, we needed this. What do you think the kids are up to?
Relaxing.
Open a Save First account with Navy Federal Credit Union and give a name to what you're saving for. NavyFederal.org. Open to everyone in the armed forces, the DoD, veterans, and their families. Federally insured by NCUA.
At CVS Pharmacy at Target, we put a little extra heart into everything we do. Like actively looking to save you money. Generics, 90-day refills, even rewards. Get a $5 Target coupon for every 10 prescriptions. On your next Target run, stop by CVS Pharmacy. We're the place with the big heart. Not valid on all prescriptions, including those purchased in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other restrictions apply. See cvs.com/extracare-target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is
do a poll. It's too late to do it.
Time to dance.
Are you panicking? Or, you know, what's your
NCAA tournament is set. Virginia, Illinois, Kansas City.
You
get the number one seeds in Notre Dame, Louisville,
B,
Oklahoma State, USC highlight teams just missing out. Isaiah Thomas with 20 points to help the Lakers run away from the Cavs, 127-113 in L.A. Thomas with some revenge against Cleveland, who traded him to Hollywood last month.
Not surprised. I've done that before, so I was just out there making plays.
Julius Randle went off for 36.
You can't use that kind of language.
What's that? The Timberwolves.
In whatever he said. Stop with your big words.
Sorry.
In Boston.
Sorry, I'm educated.
Richard Sherman.
Yeah, exactly.
21 minutes.
Cisco 49ers. Tiger Woods one shot off the tournament lead. Paul Casey wins the Valspar Championship. And Kevin Harvick takes the checkered flag to win the Ticket Guardian 500 in Arizona. Kyle Busch gets second. That's sports. Jake Corwin, NBC News Radio.
All these stories are dropping. He can now negotiate with
Join
other
Relay
teams.
for Life and help us beat our biggest rival, cancer. Sign up today at relayforlife.org and help us attack cancer in our community.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Now 22 minutes in, no Drew Brees contract. Just a heads up, just in case you were keeping track. And yet there's been no story. Oh my God, this clock's making me nervous.
60.
Oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
60 minutes.
Exactly.
You watch Mitch Landry 60 Minutes last night?
I missed it. Did you watch it?
No, I tried watching it. I tried watching it on their app, and their app's terrible. So I'm gonna try to watch it today at work.
Well, switch gears. Pelicans here. They go down to the Utah Jazz, 116-99, and this is with Anthony Davis. So you can't make that as an excuse because we know they lost Friday to the Wizards without Anthony Davis. But Anthony Davis, the strange triple-double, 10 block shots. My gosh.
Unreal.
25, 11 rebounds, 10 block shots. But obviously, the second half came and the Pelicans decided to say, the hell with defense.
I was surprised that was his first career triple-double, and surprised he'd never had more than 10 blocks. I think he's had 9 a bunch of times. But he's such an incredible shot blocker. I just assumed he'd had one of these crazy games. But, yeah, he was none too pleased with how things played out, understandably so. And I think more than anything, it was because they lost to Utah, a team that's in the mix with them. And you can see Utah's trending upward. They're going to make the playoffs. They're a different team with Rudy Gobert in there. I mean, he really had a big effect on that game yesterday. I mean, Drew Holiday struggled. The guard play for the Pelicans was not as good as it's been lately, and Ricky Rubio and Donovan Mitchell just dominated the Pels backcourt.
Rubio had 30 points. Mitchell had 27. Rubio went 10 of 22 from the field. Mitchell 10 of 21. They basically played with 6 guys, the Jazz did, and ended up winning, which is actually pretty amazing because they only Crowder played 32 minutes off the bench, and then you had one guy play 16, another one play 11, and then 5, 5, and 1. So basically they had their starters run out there the whole time, and Look, they put it to the Pelicans. I think that's the other thing that Anthony Davis was upset about. They put it to him in the second half, and it harkens back to the ups and downs when they would just kind of disappear in the second half. I mean, that's just a little reminder of what we've seen in the past. We're not used to seeing the Pelicans play like that anymore.
Well, do you think there's anything to this? I mean, we all got kind of caught up in that big winning streak they had, but someone pointed out to me last night that most of it occurred against teams that weren't that good. Now, the biggest win in that stretch was at San Antonio, and that was when, without Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge went out of the game, and even Popovich got ejected from that game. I don't want to take anything away from them, but this was pointed out to me. And also, they beat Milwaukee on the road, who's looks like a playoff team, and beat Miami here. So that's 3 good teams, but for the most part, they were beaten up on kind of non-playoff teams.
I don't want to take anything away from it, though, because throughout the year, we've seen them beat good teams and then lose to bad teams. So we've seen them flip-flop. And you just got to win the games that are on the schedule. The fact they were winning, I think they came up with a formula and it worked. And I'm not going to say that this formula is going to go away. I think they can regain this. Like they take on Charlotte at home tomorrow night. But then the next 3 games after that, you're at San Antonio, you're home against Houston, and you're home against Boston. And that's the end of this through next 7-day stretch. I mean, that's going to be a challenging stretch for the Pelicans, even through winning 10 games, not for the fact that they even just lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, I like their chances against the Hornets here coming up. I mean, I really think they're going to get back on track. And they really, I mean, I think the rest of the way they're going to have to play above 500, clearly, to ward off the competition in the West. And, you know they want to get one of those top 4 seeds if they can. I mean, that should be the goal right now. To get a home playoff series would be an incredible achievement considering all the adversity they've had this year.
Oh, no doubt about it. Well, getting into playoffs would be a positive anyway. But, yeah, the fact that we're able to talk about in terms of, wow, they might be able to get a 4 seed is remarkable. And honestly, if they could stay above 500 the rest of the way, they're still in talks of even making it a 3 seed. I mean, I know that Portland's on a roll, and they're 2 games up on the Pelicans for that 3rd spot. But still, I think it's certainly viable to even mention that. And then, oh, by the way, the Pelicans are basically even with Minnesota, basically even with Oklahoma City, and are only a game above the Spurs and a game and a half above the Clippers and Nuggets and Jazz. So this thing, if you go on a skid, this thing could turn on you in a hurry.
Big win by the T-Wolves over Golden State without Jimmy Butler. That was big for them. I didn't think they would be able to pull that off. I think they're supposed to be getting him back soon. Am I wrong on that?
They're hoping they can get him back. I know they're still going to try to work his way back into the rotation. But let's not forget that Golden State is still without Steph Curry with an ankle injury of their own, so they're dealing with some issues on their side.
Yeah, and they're not going to fall off anywhere lower than 2. I mean, they're still 10.5 games up on the Blazers. So, but like I said, look. The Pelicans have had to win all these games to get to this point, and there's still very little margin for error. And you're talking about the Jazz. Jeff, they've won 6 in a row, and they went on that big other long winning streak, and they still can't get out of the 10 spot. I mean, it's that much of a toss-up among, 8 teams right now in the league?
I don't think we've ever seen a race like this. From 3 to 10, it's basically even. I think there's, 2-3 games separating, maybe a little more between the 3rd spot and the 10th spot, but for the most part, between 4 and 9, it's like if you go on a losing streak, you're going to be on the outside looking in at the playoffs. And I think Anthony Davis knows they need to get back on track at home too. That's the other thing I think that's a little confounding about the Pels is they had a good crowd, over the weekend and good environment, and they just didn't play that well. Obviously, they didn't have Anthony Davis on Friday night, but they've not played as well at home for whatever reason as they have on the road. I don't know how you explain that.
It is bizarre that they have such a good road record, and their home record now, they're only 17-14. Among the contenders, it's by far the worst. The next closest would be, say, the Clippers at 20-14. The fact that the Pelicans are struggle so much at home is totally bizarre. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And Niko Mirotic did not play well Sunday. He continues to struggle to find his shot. He's either lights out or he's really bad, and that's a big factor right now, because when they made that deal for him, they were expecting him to be the guy that we all saw in Chicago, and he's shown flashes of that, but not enough. They need him to be a consistent threat coming off the bench to lead that second team unit.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a break right here on the show. And whoa, okay.
What's
Interesting tweet just now from Ian Rappaport. The Saints have strong interest in a reunion with Jimmy Graham. The feeling is mutual, and the fact that that's getting out there, maybe the Saints are moving quickly to go after Jimmy Graham. Which, if they're going to go ahead and get Jimmy Graham, even though it's 30 minutes and Drew Brees still doesn't have a contract, I'm thinking they're going to bring Drew back. Just a guess. Oh God. Dave, you're gonna have people like driving into each other on the streets with this clock. It's insane. Now I'm panicked here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeart Radio app. Dunc and Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you by Subway.
From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz. Today for Monday through the afternoon, it is going to be windy and cold. High in the upper 50s to lower 60s. Now tonight, lows in the 30s on the North Shore, 40 south. Tomorrow, Tuesday, even into Wednesday, high in the lower 60s. Overnight low, middle 30s north. 40 south, and it looks like we do warm up a little bit as we get into Thursday. Kind of right now it looks dry, but chilly through most of the work week. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz with your Weather Authority forecast.
Want a great meal for under $5? Because Subway restaurants have 5. That's one of 5 6-inch subs, plus chips and a 21-ounce.
That's a good poll, Clyde.
Thank you, sir.
It's a really good poll.
At Subway. Limited time only at participating restaurants. Additional charge for extras plus applicable tax.
I voted relax. I have a life.
Good. That's the answer.
That
should be the answer.
Like actively looking
it's
to
pretty
save
even
money.
Across the board.
Yeah,
no, dude. Yeah,
it's
amazing.
Even rewards.
All the different
Get a $5 Target coupon
levels.
for every 10 prescriptions.
Of course, that's why I made that one specifically for you.
We're the place with the big heart. Not valid on all prescriptions, including those purchased on your
It's a crazy,
See CVS.com/extracare-target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is everything.
There's no wrong way to eat an Oreo cookie. But just in case you need a refresher, here's a tried and true method. Step 1, twist. Step 2,
I was
lick.
going to suggest
Step 3,
if you wanted
dunk.
to leave early,
Step 4,
Clyde and I
repeat.
would steer the ship.
Preferably with family, friends, and anyone else who wants a taste.
Don't know if I can
See, you can't go wrong by twisting,
Oh, did you see
licking,
this
and
from,
dunking
Julie,
Oreo
from
cookies.
your girl,
Just grab a cold
Diana?
glass of milk and practice these easy steps.
Remember when the Saints
Soon
and
enough, you'll
Patriots almost
understand
made a trade for
why
Malcolm
Oreo is
Butler?
milk's
I'm told
favorite
there's
cookie.
new interest in
Try
getting
it
him in
today
New Orleans
with
as a
Oreo.
free agent, but they
You're in
also
luck
have their
during
eyes on
Aaron's
veteran
Lucky
corner
Days.
Dominique
During March, you
Martin.
can start a new agreement and get 6 months, same as cash. And this weekend only,
Wonder where that came from.
$7.77 gets you started leasing to own furniture, electronics, and appliances. With no credit needed and free delivery and setup. Don't miss out. Come to a participating
See, now I'm listening to
store
Jan Jackson
or
all day now,
visit
Dave.
Aaron's.com
Black
and get
has
started
my
for
favorite.
just $7.77 during
my
Aaron's
favorites.
Lucky Days. Transaction advertised as a rental purchase agreement. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
It's time to dance. The 60-18 field for the NCAA tournament is set. Virginia, Villanova, Kansas, Xavier get the number 1 seeds. Notre Dame, Louisville, Oklahoma State, USC highlight teams just missing out. Dallas with 20 points to help the Lakers run away from the Cavs. 127-113 in L.A. Thomas with some revenge
Garofalo, the
against
Saints
Cleveland,
are
who traded
also
him to
expected to
Hollywood
have some
last
interest in
month.
tight
No
end
surprise.
Austin
I've done that
Safarian
before,
Jenkins as
so I was
well.
just out there
So
making
they're
plays.
checking
Julius
on
Randle
multiple
went
tight
off for
ends.
36 and 14 for L.A. Elsewhere, Raptors over the Knicks. Warriors fall to the Timberwolves. Jazz top the Pelicans. Rockets beat the Mavericks. Sixers
was
best
in
the Nets.
copy
And
tweet
Pacers
to,
sneak by the
Porter as
Celtics
well,
in Boston.
so
Former
this is getting
Seattle
silly.
Seahawks
Silly
secondary
season
staple
started.
Richard.
All right, 15 seconds.
3-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers. Tiger Woods one shot off the tournament lead. Paul Casey wins the Valspar Championship. And Kevin Harvick takes the checkered flag to win the Ticket Guardian 500 in Arizona. Kyle Busch gets second. That's sports. Jake Corwin, NBC News Radio.
New Orleans Bring sports talk about your favorite teams. Sports 1280.
34 minutes and no Drew Brees contract, but some interesting news. Mentioned at the other side of the break how Ian Rappaport from NFL Network reporting about the interest between the Saints and Jimmy Graham. Diana Rossini, who's been on the show before from ESPN, says the Saints are interested in getting cornerback Malcolm Butler. Did anyone ever mention that on this show before? I think that's the first time I've ever said that.
Somebody would be happy if that were to materialize.
Also, they're interested reportedly in Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie. And who is this? Mike Garafalo reporting that the Saints are interested in chatting up with Austin Seferian-Jenkins. So some tight ends, some corners, all needs, all players that at least positions that I mentioned in my free agent wish list that I figured they would certainly revisit the Malcolm Butler thing. I think we've only said that one time each day over the last 2 months. We assumed that would happen, and I'm curious to see the price tag on him though. I saw the Spot Track has some market value app that they have, and they put his market value at $13 million a year on average for Malcolm Butler. That's pretty hefty for
Malcolm. That's a little steep. I'm not surprised they have interest in Malcolm Butler. I am surprised at Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie. I'm not sure what that just seems like a weird fit to me. He's a 10-year veteran. He's got the size now to play in that scheme that Dennis Allen runs, but maybe they just want to add a little more veteran experience to the secondary group like they did with Kurt Coleman, because they do have a bunch of young guys there.
No doubt about it. And you're assuming that Kenny Vaccaro is going to walk, so you're leaving a veteran off that roster as well. And yeah, because look who you got back there at corner and at safety. Outside of Kurt Coleman, you have Lattimore, who's played a year, Crawley, who's played a year, essentially. And then at safety, you got Von Bell, who's played 2 years. You've got Marcus Williams, who's played a year. So now, if you bring in Butler, that's certainly a veteran guy. But maybe that's with the Cromartie thing. I don't know. Who knows? I think they're just going to be looking around because Cromartie's price tag is certainly going to be lower than Malcolm Butler. So they're probably just mixing and matching and just seeing what they can get done out there.
And I will say this, and look, we've talked about it for a while now, but the fact that Ian Rappaport is reporting this strong mutual interest for Jimmy Graham, trust me, where there's smoke, there's fire on that. One of Ian's best sources is Jimmy Sexton, who is Jimmy Graham's agent. You can take that to the bank. That's coming straight from Sexton, which means that deal's going to get done. I think Jimmy Graham's going to be back here. I'll be shocked after seeing that report if he's not with the Saints.
I just think it makes too much sense. I mean, I wrote it last week when when our own Josh Katzenstein and I know Tom Pelissero from NFL Network both reported that the interest would be mutual and that they would entertain a reunion. And I think it makes too much sense for the Saints and Jimmy Graham not to do this. Like, if they don't do it, I'd be more surprised than if it happens at this rate.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit. Now, that leads me to think Kobe Fleener's time here is done.
I would think so.
I would think they would designate him a June 1 cut, and he would not be on this roster. I could be wrong, but that you don't. I don't know how you can afford to pay all that, and it makes you wonder why they would have eaten that. Would they eat $3.7 million?
I don't know why they decided to eat that when the part of that contract went guaranteed. I don't know. Well, because
did they not know Graham was going to be available? Were they wondering if he was going to stay in Seattle? Maybe, I don't know. I think they would have had their feelers out on that.
The only thing is that maybe they didn't think a tight end would be, at least a tight end they thought would be viable for them, and they were just going to hang on to it as insurance. Because just remember, the last time they were in the market for a tight end, they were trying to get Ben Watson back, and then the Ravens jumped the offer, and then there's no doubt in my mind that the Saints panicked and went out and overpaid for Kobe Fleener. I mean, they just went out because they didn't have a lot of money to play with, at that point, and they spent their most dollars on Fleener, and that was a total panic move. This would not be a panic move, but that move was a total panic.
And I think you could say unequivocally that the Saints would have won this trade probably. I mean, it's hard to say unequivocally. That's probably not the right word, but the fact that they still have Max Unger on the roster, they're going to get Jimmy Graham back. They got the first-round draft pick, which they didn't pan out with Stephon Anthony, but I would think the Saints ended up winning this in the long run. I'm not sure what Seattle got out of Jimmy Graham. They got 10 touchdowns this past year.
He went to 2 Pro Bowls, but it's not like he became this threatening, big-time threat for the Seahawks. Look, I don't know if I would say that the Saints unequivocally won the trade, but if you get him back, it certainly helps.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Certainly
I'm talking about getting him back. I mean,
Right.
so far I think it's been a pretty even trade, but if the Saints would have cashed in on that first-round draft pick, it would have been a lot better for their cause. I mean, they really whiffed on Stephon Anthony, and that was back in the Rob Ryan days, if I'm not mistaken. They had a lot of whiffs, scheme-wise,
Player-wise,
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They didn't right the ship until 2016's draft. And I'm wondering, look, we've brought up some of these names, and people want the Saints. I think some fans out there would like them to get in the market for like a linebacker. And I don't know if the Saints are going to be in the market for getting or paying significant dollars for a linebacker when they already did it last offseason with A.J. Klein. So,
Who do fans want?
They just want an upgrade. They feel like
Ricky Jackson? I mean, what do they want?
Well, I know the big name at the linebacker is the guy from Philadelphia, Nigel Bradham, but he's really the only big-time linebacker that's probably going to get big-time money because he played so well last couple of years for Philadelphia.
Yeah, they don't need Nigel Bradham.
I just know you. I was just basically trying to get your reaction since you essentially think linebackers you don't even need them.
Yeah, I just think it's an overrated position. Everybody's in 5 and 6 DB sets. You hardly ever have a every down linebacker anymore. They're been marginalized in this league unless you get a guy like a Deion Jones or somebody like that, Luke Kuechly, that's on the field for 3 downs. Then they're worth the investment. Otherwise, to me, they're like a role player. Look how many snaps. Go back and look how many snaps some of the Saints linebackers play. They play less than the nickelback by far. In their defense.
Yes, absolutely. That's why someone like Aaron Colvin is going to be more valuable because the nickel corner plays so much. And will the Saints look at him? I don't know. Do I think it'd be a good idea? Yes, but it already sounds like they're looking at Malcolm Butler, which again, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Do you read anything into the fact that there's reports out now that they have interest in Malcolm Butler, perhaps Antonio Rodgers-Cromartie? Do you read anything into that with Delvin Breaux's situation?
Absolutely, yes. I think that they're going to let him walk. I really do. The relationship to me would be difficult to fix. It felt like that the Saints were already ready to be done with him anyway. Before, if you're willing to trade the guy and you're not happy with him, I think they were frustrated. And if I am Delvin Breaux, I'm looking for a clean start somewhere else because I think he's
though he's from New Orleans.
Yeah, I
got a young family here.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but you got to pay your bills, and if you want to go to a team that will appreciate you more, because I feel like the Saints' appreciation for him has dipped. I mean, you don't leak that you're going to trade him, and then you got to come back and not trade him because you totally screwed up. If I'm Delvin Breaux, I'd be like, get me the hell out of here. I just think he'd do himself a favor by getting a fresh start somewhere.
You don't think it's repairable?
I don't think so, but I didn't think the Jimmy Graham thing was repairable either, and it certainly seems like they're in the direction. Maybe time heals wounds. Not enough time for Delvin Breaux and the Saints maybe to heal their wounds.
Speaking of wounds and healing, Drew Brees still unsigned. How's the poll going, Clyde?
Oh.
I know early on.
I'm glad you asked.
We put out a Twitter poll, in case you haven't seen it, on our Duncan Holder Twitter account, asking how you are dealing with the fact that Drew Brees now can negotiate with other teams. Are you full-scale Larry Holder panic mode, or are you relaxed and just chilling out? There's 4 different options. I'm curious to know what the results are.
Well, Jeff, I purposely made the poll to the end of the show, so we have about 12 minutes left if you want to go vote at Dunc and Holder on Twitter. So right now, currently leading the way. It's still very tight, but right now, the 31% in the lead is, it's only Monday. But right behind is at 27%, how many days are left? As opposed to 20% for relaxed, I have a life, and 22% for doomsday sheltering.
By the way, 44 minutes and there's no Drew Brees contract, as Dave just appropriately let us know.
Yeah, you got time to go vote with this ticking in the background and go, stock up your doomsday shelter.
Yes, definitely. I mean, just imagine if the Saints let Drew walk, then they let Chase Daniel walk because he's a free agent, and then it's Taysom time. Would this town be ready for Taysom time?
This town would partially burn.
He'd be riding Mardi Gras parades. He'd be King Rex. Taysom would be the king of Mardi Gras.
No, he would not. He wouldn't even be the king of the truck parades.
Oh, God. What you hating on the truck parades,
Yeah,
man?
why are you doing the truck parades? The truck parade's pretty good this year.
I mean, Rex, it has some prestige, and the truck parades
Some, yes.
don't have as much prestige. What do you want me to tell you? It's just a fact of life.
I disagree with that.
You disagree with that?
I disagree with that notion. All parades during Mardi Gras are moderately equal.
They're all created equal.
They're all good because it gives us a chance to revel for many, many days.
I don't know about that because I think only the mayor meets with King Zulu and King Rex and has a big,
Actually, it's just King Zulu and Rex. Rex is king of Carnival. You don't have to sing King Zulu.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have my Mardi Gras.
Oh, well, here's an interesting tidbit since we were talking about Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Report from KJR Radio up in Seattle saying that Austin Seferian-Jenkins is in Seattle right now and to not be surprised if a deal gets done with the Seahawks. So
I think he's a UW grad.
I think you're correct, yes.
Yeah,
and
makes
so
sense.
I think they're planning on Jimmy heading out of Dodge, and curious to see if he ends up here.
It sounds like the tea leaves are the stars are aligned for a reunion. Will they have a press conference, you think, if they send Jimmy Graham? Is that
You'd imagine so.
You would think, but
and then there would be
all
all
the
the
long
people.
time since they've had a press conference for a free agent acquisition. I can't tell you the last time they actually did one.
Yeah, they're not big on those.
No, or like the draft day ones. They don't do those.
Maybe
either.
a conference call.
Well, they always get to play. We typically, the last couple of years, have been able to get access to talk with the player. Well, I remember the conference call with Jarris Byrd, and he essentially sounded like he had no idea what was going on the Saints roster. He didn't know anything about Rob Ryan or the defense they played. It seemed pretty obvious that the Saints just paid the price that they were looking for, and he just said, "That's where I'm going."
That's what it sounded like to me. He was a money grab, right? He just took the highest
what
bidder.
It seemed like to me, yes.
And moved on. And look, I'm curious if they re-sign Jimmy Graham. Well, maybe the Pelicans bring him out there and put him out power forward as a role player off the bench.
It would help the cap, the Saints cap. You think he can do that?
Oh, yeah, it would be like getting money from both sides.
I would always argue, why don't they put Drew Brees' contract on the Pelicans? Just use it as a money laundering scam. Just
I'm sure that'd go over real well.
Shell game.
I'm sure it would. You could do that, right?
Don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think that's legal.
No.
All right, let's take our final break right here on the show. And as the free agent news comes,
as the world turns,
or doesn't come,
like sands through the hourglass.
Like 47 minutes, now 48 minutes, and there's no Drew Brees contract.
As I get Larry and Jeff's thoughts on Ladarius Webb, because this is an all Nichols-related show, you haven't seen him put the pieces together.
Oh, well, look at you. Bringing it all together here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
With up to 16 chances a day, every weekday to
Somebody,
win $1,000.
they're all voting.
A smart move would be to listen.
I'm a smart speaker, and I agree.
The keyword to text and win comes at the top of the hour.
The smart money is on.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
I'm attorney Mike Brandner. After you've been hurt in a car wreck, you wouldn't settle for getting half your car fixed, so why settle for getting half a check? The insurance companies have teams of adjusters and lawyers, and their job is to pay you as little as possible for your case. In a wreck, need a check? Call Mike Brandner today. We'll work hard to get you all the money you deserve and keep you out of the courtroom. Call 345-1111. The call and the advice are free.
Capital One presents Da Vinci Painting Mona Lisa.
Mona, why are you so unhappy?
Oh, I left my Capital
2 minutes.
card in the carriage. Un momento! I can lock it with the Capital One app on my phone. This app, it's a masterpiece.
Ah, Mona, that smile.
Card lock from Capital One. Instantly lock your card in case it goes arrivederci. Technology this convenient could make history.
What's in your wallet?
Capital One Bank USA NA.
The City of Mandeville presents Mandeville Live Spring Concert Series.
So that
the Spring
smooth
Concert Series features
voice.
6 free Friday. Mandinas. In historic Old Mandeville Live. 16th through May 4th, featuring
GQ
artists like
rates
the Boogeyman, Little
50,000
Freddie King, and
Asian restaurants.
Wow.
Trey Yen made the list.
Made the list. Don't tell you where they made it, but they made it.
They made the list. Spring Concert Series. Did y'all hear friggin' Travers? He called Corey a whiny weasel right out the gate.
No, what are you talking about?
Oh my! Travers filled in for him. Or was it Fletcher? It's Travers. Damn it! I get them both confused. They filled in for Corey on Friday.
A new survey from
That
Read Aloud
sounds
15
like-
Minutes shows that
I don't know.
parents...
That doesn't sound like either one of them
Well, apparently, I gotta find out now. Damn it to hell.
Reading aloud to
I guess I. Wow. Apparently, I mean, I think he was just kind of jerking him around. But the funny part was that, like, Corey used to bust his balls all the time. Yeah. So it was just kind of like a turnabout is fair play.
Parents read aloud to their children every day, and that 2/3 stop reading to their kids once they're old enough to read to themselves. Dr. Hutton recommends reading a book to your child every day, starting at birth, for at least 15 minutes. A New York City Assemblywoman is introducing a tampon bill. It would require every public bathroom in the state to provide free tampons and
How does this get on the radio?
I know, man. I have so many questions.
Are a necessity, just like toilet paper. Health update, Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
Dunc and Holder now. Eric Asher next at noon on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
51 minutes and there's no Drew Brees contract. How long am I going to have to do this before Clyde panics? Panic, Clyde. Get crazy.
Sorry. The only thing I'm panicked about right now is that selection show at 6 o'clock tonight. Seeing where the Colonel's going. Other than that, though, and I mean, again, I'm not trying to be like Larry and be so averse, but man, this is some fantastic theater. I'm sorry. Like, this is going to be fantastic to watch. It's going to be fantastic to see how.
What are we watching?
Drew Brees contract.
Or,
yeah,
I
Drew
thought
Brees.
you meant the
Sorry.
Lady
There's no
Colonels.
theater, though. We're not seeing anything.
It doesn't. No, you're seeing everything. You're seeing the psychosis of General Saints fan. You're seeing the how they tick and operate in regards to, the minutia of contract details and hearing all these things go on around the rest of the NFL and sources being linked with this and blah blah blah. Like, that's all it is. Like, it's fantastic theater to watch. And I also agree with Larry. I'm not concerned that Drew Brees will be the quarterback of the Saints.
Are you sure?
I mean, are we sure about anything in life? You want to get existential with it? Let's get existential with it.
Some things you could be sure of.
Yeah. There are 3 things in this life you can be sure of, and we know what those 3 are. But can you be really sure of anything else?
I'm
taxes.
Sure that Drew Brees will sign with someone.
Exactly. So you can go with that.
So panic. See,
it's too early.
Get it? Panic. Done. 53 minutes, by the way.
What is the meaning of life?
You're keeping track here. So, I mean, if he comes back, he comes back. If not, it's Taysom time. I'm ready for it.
Why are you just overstepping Chase Daniel? Why would Chase Daniel leave too?
He's a free agent too, by the way.
I guess that's true.
So yeah, Taysom time. He's the only quarterback under contract. Well, by Wednesday.
By Wednesday.
But
we could bring back Garrett Grayson, sign him off the practice squad. Isn't that where he's on?
Hey man, Nick Foles is available.
Joey Harrington. Go bring Joey Harrington back. Maybe Mark Brunell.
Achilles Smith. He was a Saint for a while. Cup of coffee.
He was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Achilles Smith.
Yes. Another failed Oregon product.
When?
When I covered the team. Kelly Smith came in.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I blacked out.
He wasn't there long.
Blacked out.
He was not there long.
Oh, my gosh.
But it was,
I must have forgotten that cup of coffee.
I love all the obscure quarterbacks over the years.
Oh, well, yeah.
Who was the first backup to Drew Brees here? Do you remember?
First back, Jamie Martin.
Good answer.
Uncle Rico, because he throws the ball like sideways, and he looks like he could fling a football over that there mountain.
I wonder what Jamie Martin's doing right now.
Speaking of anonymous saints, should we go through this list that we got on Friday about the rest of the anonymous saints after we talked about how Larry thinks that Jeff Charleston is the most forgettable saint during his time?
Oh, he's just anonymous.
Yeah, we got to call him out on that.
Yeah, do you remember Nate Laurie?
Yes.
Corey McIntyre?
Nate Laurie went to Yale, tight end.
Oh, unbelievable. Corey McIntyre?
Fullback. I remember him.
Okay. DeJuan Groce?
I think
it's Gross.
Gross?
Sorry. They picked him off waivers. They picked him up off waivers leading up to the 2006 season after the training camp cut. I remember him.
John Owens, Josh Cooper, Buck Ortega.
Buck Ortega. Eckel. Oh my gosh, I've got a ridiculous story about Buck Ortega that I probably won't say on the air.
Kyle Eckel, Darnell Dinkins.
Kyle Eckel, of course.
He was the fullback in the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Demario Presley, Anthony Waters, Torrey Humphrey, Michael Higgins.
Who made this list, by the way?
Jim Rapier.
Jim Rapier in the office.
And so this list was compiled because Larry mistakenly tried to argue that Jeff Charleston was the most anonymous. I think the real word we're looking for is obscure.
Obscure, yes.
Most obscure Saints player ever, which is patently false.
And the fact that he's on now reality TV, so he's testing his skills.
Have we ever nailed down the fact that Clay Harbor is supposed to be on The Bachelorette? Do we know that yet?
No, it's like we talked about. Like it's pretty much official.
It's in the works.
It's
reality
official
Steve
enough.
Told our own Mike Scott, so it's got to be real, right? Got to be real.
It's got to be real. All right, guys, poll's over.
Poll is over. 56 minutes and there's no Drew Brees contract.
Once again, the poll was your current mood as Drew Brees remains unsigned with Saints free agency really starting Monday. 31%, it's only Monday. 25%, how many days left? And tied at 22% each. Relaxed, I have a life, which you should all have. And then doomsday sheltering at 22%.
Wow, it's pretty. It speaks to the diverse feelings of the Saints fan base that everybody's all over the board on this.
Yeah.
There is no consensus at all.
Right. I was assuming there would be a consensus, and there is not. So there is a. That just means, what, 40% of the poll has some sort of level of panic.
Yeah,
actually higher than 40%.
Yeah, a little bit higher than 40%.
Look, I think Dave and Clyde, both of you all, I'm holding you all accountable to this. If he is not signed by Friday, we need to be close to Larry. Y'all keep watching him on this rooftop party on Friday.
All right.
Because I'm worried that he might get too close to the edge.
Make sure he just jumps.
Yes.
Okay.
So just keep your eyes out.
If there's no deal done by Friday, it means he's going somewhere else.
We need to surround the Troubadour Hotel with netting, safety netting.
We need that.
Yeah.
And I don't think Larry has those kind of hops anyway. I'm not sure what the roof setup is, but I don't think he has those kind of. He doesn't have that leaping ability, so we shouldn't be too worried.
I'll just drown myself.
Yeah, he'll just drink himself into a stupor.
No, drown myself in crawfish, and I'll I'll be too weak to be able to pick it up. So that means I'll be eating a lot of it.
Yeah.
So that'll
be a good way to go out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, that's gonna wrap up today's show. Want to thank Fritz Mitchell, of course. Check out Maravich on SEC Network tonight, 8 p.m. Central Time, and 57 minutes. There's still no contract. Should I just keep doing this as now 58 minutes? There's no contract.
Dhani Jones was a Saint for like a week.
Yes, he was.
I didn't realize that.
Of course he was.
Oh,
yeah. Come on.
Sorry. So one of the guys brought it up on the YouTube stream.
Yeah. See, he's more memorable than Jeff Charleston.
30 seconds.
Sorry, guys. It's just fact. That's a fact.
That's
a fact.
We'll revisit this tomorrow.
Absolutely. So, all right, Eric Asher coming up next. If you missed any of the show, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube page, and Clyde always does our wonderful updates later on in the afternoon. So, all right, Eric Asher coming up next. So, we'll see y'all tomorrow.
All right, guys.
All right, bud.
Thanks, bud.
Here's today's tax tip. Many low-income taxpayers are leaving money on the table at